Alright, today I want to talk about the traffic pattern, what the traffic pattern is, how to fly one, and a little bit about why we use them in the first place. So, let's say that we get started with a runway. So we're going to start out and we've got a runway, something like this. There we go, and we'll put a number on the runway. This would be maybe runway 27, and this would be runway 09er. That's not a 9. Let's try runway 09. So we've got runway 27, runway 09. For people who don't know, the number of the runway indicates its magnetic direction. So in this case, if you have runway 27, that means that you are landing on a heading of 270 when your airplane is on the runway. So if you're on runway 27, you're facing 270. Similarly, if you're on runway 9, you're facing 090. So we can get rid of most of that. But that represents the numbering system for the runways.
President Eisenhower.
Now, the traffic pattern itself.
Vice President Nixon.
Traffic patterns are
President
fairly
Truman,
simple. They're a
Clergy,
I almost
fellow
said
citizens.
rexagon. It's a
We observe
rectangle,
today
which
not
has
a
several
victory of party,
distinct
but a
legs.
celebration of freedom,
So, I'll
symbolizing
go ahead and draw
an
these
end
up here.
as well as a beginning, signifying renewal as well as change. For
There
I
we go.
have sworn
Alright,
before
that
you
represents a traffic pattern,
and
and you would
Almighty
be
God,
on the runway
same
at that point
solemn
right
oath.
there.
Our
So,
forebears prescribed
Let's make some labels for
nearly a
these.
century
This right
and
here would be
three-quarters
upwind.
ago. The world is very different now.
This right here would be
A man
crosswind.
holds in his mortal hands the power to abolish
Right here is downwind.
all forms of human poverty and all forms of human
This one
life.
here is base.
And yet the same
And this one
revolutionary
here
beliefs
is
for
final.
which our forebears fought are still at issue around the globe.
So what you've got is you've got the
The
5
belief
legs
that the
of a
rights
traffic
of
pattern:
man
upwind, crosswind,
come
downwind,
not from the
base, and final.
generosity of the state,
And the reason that they're called this
but
is
from the hand
because
of God.
an aircraft will
We
always
dare
try
not
to
forget
take off and
today
land, if possible,
that
into the
we
wind.
are the
So if
heirs
your
of that
aircraft
first
happens to
revolution.
be right here,
Let the
taking
word
off
go
on runway
forth
27,
from
that's
this
indicating
time
that the
and
wind
place
is coming
to
from
friend and foe alike,
270, or approximately
that
in
the
this
torch
direction,
has
somewhere
been
like
passed
this.
to a new generation of Americans,
The reason that the airplane takes
born
off and
in
lands
this
into the
century,
wind is because you get more airflow
tempered
over the
by
surface
war,
of the wing. So essentially you
disciplined
can
by
fly
a
at a slower
hard
ground
and
speed
bitter peace,
while still remaining in the at the
proud
same
of our ancient
airspeed.
heritage,
For the purposes of this
and
discussion, that's not
unwilling
really
to
relevant.
witness
All that you have
or
to understand
permit
is that when you're taking
the
off
slow
or when you're
undoing
landing, your nose is
of
going to be
those
facing
human
approximately into the wind.
to which
What
this
that means is
nation
that
has
when you've
always
taken
been
off
committed,
and you're climbing out,
and to which we are committed
this is where you'll
today,
be,
at home
and
around the
you'll be
world.
upwind in the sense that you'll be heading into the wind. You'll be flying forward, the wind will be pushing backward against you. What you're going to do
Let
is you're going
every
to take
nation
off
know,
and you're going to climb
whether it wishes
in the
us
upwind
well
until
or
you get
ill,
to a point,
that we shall
approximately,
pay any
for
price,
most
bear
piston
any
engine
burden,
aircraft, it's a point 300
any
feet below pattern
hardship,
altitude. For jet
support
aircraft, I assume
any
it would be the
friend,
same.
oppose
Pattern
any
altitude
foe,
for a reciprocating aircraft
to assure the
is 1,000
survival
feet
and the
AGL.
success of
For
liberty.
jet aircraft, it's 1,500 AGL. In this case, we're talking about an A-10 Warthog, so we're going to say
This
1,500
much we
AGL.
pledge
So in
and
this
more.
case, you would climb in the
To
traffic
those
pattern
old allies
up until
whose cultural and spiritual
1,200
origins
AGL,
we share,
and once you're past
we
the
pledge the loyalty
departure
of
end of the
faithful
runway
friends.
and you're at 1,200 AGL, you
United, there
can
is
begin
little
your
we
turn
cannot do
out of the upwind
in a
and onto
host
the
of
crosswind.
cooperative ventures.
Well, what
Divided,
happens
there
now?
is little we
Well,
can do.
now your aircraft is
For
in
we
the
dare not
crosswind,
meet a powerful
as
challenge
you can see right there.
at all.
The wind is still blowing this way.
To
What you're
those
going to
new
have to do
states whom
is
we
you're going to
welcome
have to
the
crab
ranks
the
of
airplane
free,
slightly outward,
we pledge our word
something
that
like
one
that,
form
so
of
that
colonial
your ground
control
track takes you
shall not have
along
passed
this
away,
route right here. So basically you're
merely
going to have to
be
be flying the
replaced
airplane
by a
in an
far
outward
more
direction
iron tyranny.
so that the wind will blow
We
you
shall
back
not always
onto this
expect to
course.
find them supporting our view.
The crosswind
But
usually
we
only
shall
takes
always hope to
about
find them
2
strongly
to 5
supporting their own
seconds
freedom.
maximum. You don't spend too
And
long
to
in the
remember
crosswind.
that in the
It's
past,
very much a matter of turn
those
crosswind,
who foolishly
scan for
sought
traffic
power
quickly, and then turn
by
downwind
riding
again.
the back of the
So
tiger,
now, let's say
ended
that
up inside.
you've just done that. You've turned downwind. You're at about 1,500 feet AGL. And here you are.
in the huts and
There's your
villages
aircraft right there.
of half the globe,
And you're in a downwind.
struggling to
Again,
break
the wind is at
bonds
your
of
tail.
mass
The wind is
misery,
speeding you along.
we
So
pledge
you're going
our
to
best
fly the
efforts
downwind
to
a bit
help
more
them
quickly,
help
or rather,
themselves.
you're going to fly the downwind at a
For
higher
whatever
ground
period
speed,
is
the same
required,
indicated airspeed,
not
as you do
because
the
the
rest of the
communists
pattern.
may be doing it,
When you reach
not
this
because
point,
we seek their
where
vote,
your wingtip
but because
is
it
a
is
beam.
right. If a
That's
free
terrible. Let's try that
society
again. There we
cannot
go.
help the many
At
who
some
are
point,
poor,
your
it
wingtip
cannot save
will
the
be
few who are rich.
exactly parallel to the edge of the runway, the approach end of the runway. At this point, you're considered to be a beam.
To our sister republics, south of our border,
And what you'll do if you haven't
offer
already
a
is at
special
this point
pledge
you'll call up the control tower
to
and
convert
you'll ask
our
for
good
permission
word
to do whatever
into
you're
good
going to do, either whether that be a touch
in
and
a
go
new alliance
or
for
permission to
progress,
land or permission to
to
do a low
assist
approach.
free men and free government in casting
Next up,
off the
you're going to
chains
turn
of poverty.
base. Right around this
But
point,
this
from the beam and
peaceful
on, you're going to have
revolution
reduced
of
power, you're going to be
Cannot
descending.
become the prey of hostile powers. Let all
So you're
our
descending
neighbors
from
know
pattern altitude downward.
that we
You've
shall
lowered the
join
gear.
with them to oppose aggression or subversion.
If you haven't done that
anywhere
already,
in the
so you're
Americas.
descending, you've lowered the gear,
And let every
and
other
flaps
power know that this hemisphere
as-
intends to remain the master of its own house.
You're using flaps as necessary in order to enable your descent. What you should also be doing as you turn base is you should also be
To that
slowing
world
the airplane
assembly
down.
of sovereign
So
states,
whatever your pattern
the
speed
United
was,
Nations,
you should be losing speed
our
on
last
base
best hope
in preparation for turning
in an
final.
age where the instruments of war
And as
have
you turn
far
final,
outpaced
you should be fully
instruments of
configured
peace.
for landing, in
We
the sense that
renew
you
our
should not
pledge
need to
of
use any more
support
flaps. You should not.
to prevent
You
it
should
from
already have the
becoming
gear deployed.
merely
And
a
at this
form
point, it's just a
for
matter of
invective,
maintaining a stable glide
to
path
strengthen its shield
down
of
to the
new and the
runway,
weak,
where you'll
and
round
to
out,
enlarge
flare,
the area
and
in which its
touchdown.
grit may run.
These are
Finally,
the basic legs of
to
the traffic
those
pattern.
nations
Once again,
Who
upwind,
would make
crosswind,
themselves our adversary,
downwind, a beam.
we
It's not really a
offer not
leg,
a
it's more of a
pledge,
point.
but a
Base
request
and final.
that
You are
both
climbing
sides
during these points.
begin anew the quest for peace.
Actually, that's a lie. You're climbing
Before
only
the
during the
dark
upwind.
powers of
You're
destruction
climbing during the upwind. You're
unleashed
flying
by science
basically in a crab during the
engulf all
crosswind.
humanity
You're zooming during the
in
downwind.
planned or
Right around
accidental
here at the beam point,
self-destruction.
you're going to begin your
We
descent,
dare not
and
tempt
you're
them with
descending
weakness.
through all of
For
this
only
right here.
when our
You're
arms
descending through the last part of the
are
downwind,
sufficient
you're descending
beyond
all during
doubt,
the base, and you're
Can
descending
we
during
be
the final as
certain
well.
beyond doubt that they will never be employed?
And that
But
is
neither
a
can
simple
two great
definition of
and
the traffic
powerful
pattern.
groups of nations